the Enterprise City Council to order. Let the record show that all members of the council are present. So we will start with our work session agenda in your smaller folder here. We've got some quarterly goal updates from our city administrator, Mr. Tullos.
Mayor, council, good evening. Really quick, most of our goals are still on track. I'm going to highlight the ones that are not, and give you two updates. So the bid and award PV Park improvements, I don't anticipate that happening until January 10th, plus or minus a day or so, based on our conversations with the engineering firm. The holidays are a really tough time to get bid documents out and have interest from contractors. So purposefully, we're holding that back until the new year to get that on the street. We think we'll have better interest and response, which will help us with the cost. And so that's the plan there. Want to let you know why that's not moving forward in FY or in calendar year 22. We have the bicycle and pedestrian traffic with other cities and plan to council. We're incorporating that into the comprehensive plan if that meets your goal, which we have a draft of. That got delayed because of a court proceeding. We were supposed to talk about that tonight. If you recall, the work session was originally at 3 p.m. We subsequently, I would suggest, if the council's okay with it, that we could try to do that at the next council meeting potentially, or another subsequent meeting. But I think you've all got a copy roughly of the preliminary draft for the comprehensive plan. So now it's just on a date, deciding if you want to check that off this year. The next logical time would be the council meeting upcoming. Otherwise, we're in.
So we'd originally said 3 o'clock today. Obviously, we had to, for circumstances out of our control, change that. How does everybody look for 3 o'clock, December 20th?
Good for me.
Sonia, you good for the 20th?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, so we'll set that for 3 o'clock, December 20th. Beverly, you got that? Everybody make a note.
What time?
3 o'clock, December 20th. All right.
So external touch points from your city departments, I have all of those. I'm trying to consolidate those in a format now, so that they're not all hodgepodge and different. So I anticipate having that to you to discuss if you want to at the next work session. But between now and then, I'll send it out via email. And then in terms of pickleball courts, we finally have a rough plan and a proposal under contract services, somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000, what we think it will cost to design that. The preliminary design calls for multiple phases of an approach on that. I think that was budgeted, but we still want to get that contract to you to review. And so maybe at the next council meeting, look at either approving the mayor, authorizing him to sign off on the contract if everybody's in agreement that that's the plan that we need to move forward with.
That would be an agreement to get us construction documents so we could potentially go to bid.
Right, and handle the bid all the way through the bid process. And it looks like right now that preliminary plan calls for 16 total pickleball courts over 2 to 3 phases. So the first phase would be 8 courts, fencing, lighting, and then a subsequent phase would be a pavilion, 8 additional courts, and potentially a parking area. Won't go into what roughly we think the 8 courts will cost, but bid will come back and tell us that. And we did have a number in the budget for this project, and certainly the bid will tell us if we hit that target or not.
Okay. Anything else on our goals?
Everything else is on track or completed at this point. Business license ordinance was passed at the last council meeting, et cetera.
Yeah. So. Are any questions on our quarterly goals? You can see if we have time, we'll discuss strategic planning for next year. We need to do that as soon after the beginning of the year as possible. All right, so moving on to the next item is our sales tax collection contract discussion.
Hi.
Lynn?
We are currently, for our sales tax collections, under contract with Avenue Insights. Previously, it was RDS, and then they've changed over to Avenue Insights. And we have two contracts with them, one for sales and use tax administration, and then another contract for business license discovery and recovery. Both of those contracts are up for renewal in February, at the end of February 2023, so at the beginning of the new calendar year. And I thought, because we're up for that, it would be a good time to come in and have them go over what it is, that services that we're getting from them, and then also speak to the Department of Revenue to see what services we could, if we wanted options for renewal, to see what we could get with the State Department. So Mr. Cameron Clark is here from the Alabama Department of Revenue to talk to us and give us some information from them. And then we have Perry Brassfield is here from Avenue to go over information from Avenue. So we're not really asking for any decisions or anything to be made tonight. Because we still have some time before those contracts are up, but I just want to get the information out to council so that you have an opportunity to review. You've got some packets up there from each of them. And I also gave you copies of the contract renewals. So those are in there for you all to review. And then if you've got questions, we've got time to ask those and get back before we need to make a final decision.
So we need to make a decision over the next 8 weeks or so.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me. When you think about sales tax and sales tax administration, you kind of wonder, what is it? What does it encompass? Is it just collecting the money? And it's more than just collecting the money. It's collecting the money, providing you with reports, providing collection services for delinquents, and auditing services. Is there a way I can...
Everybody see that?
Okay, so I'll just be quick about it. You said quickly. Been administering sales tax law for over 60 years, and we are accountable to the examiners of public accounts. We provide electronic funds transfers, direct deposits. Our deposits are weekly, twice on the week of the 20th, with also more reports. This once again goes over the reports, more detail, allowing you to do charts and graphs, reconciliations, perform searches, and we have local tax personnel located in Montgomery. However, we have 9 different taxpayer service centers around the state, you being out of the Dothan Taxpayer Service Center. More summarization of what our reports are, giving current top 25, once again, graphs and charts. They kind of redundant on this one. So with the electronic filing of taxes, it eliminates paper and manual errors, cost efficient for taxpayers, ADOR, and for local governments. We provide in and out of state auditors. They're called foreign auditors. They're located at different cities, auditing the big businesses around the country. They pick up all state administered localities, any errors that they find in there. Tax remittances. And once again, there's auditors located out of the Dothan Taxpayer Service Center that operate all around this area. Oh, the last line. Our auditing services are not charged. It's included with the fee. You'll note with the fees between us and your current provider, there's a price difference, but there's also a fluctuating cost in auditing fees. Our auditors are all accountants trained in sales tax laws. We receive annual continuing education, and our auditors are bonded. Once again, no additional charge for auditing services. The delinquent services, this is the collections division. Taxpayers that are currently probably delinquent with you or already delinquent with us, people seem to be following those kind of patterns. But we use telephone calls, letters, and eventual face-to-face contact for collection services. We also have at our disposal state services such as ABC, business license, liquor license suspensions, and we can follow through with liens. And these services are not additionally charged. That's what it was. ABC licenses, Department of Labor, ALEA, we can have driver's license information, conservation, we can get boating licenses, hunting licenses, motor vehicle. And if we do perform an audit and someone does decide to carry it through with their process through to court, being a state administered locality, you are covered under our legal department. You don't have to employ additional legal services. So voluntary compliance payments, bad check services, assessment process, hearings at the Alabama Tax Tribunal. Local tax accounts are established automatically when you apply for a state sales tax account number. And we cross-check local reports with state reports. You'd be surprised at how many people will file a local return and a state return and give different numbers. That's one of our audit lead procedures. We provide an annual gross sales report. This is good for your business license to look for those people that are underreporting. We have an exchange of information agreement with the IRS. We receive K99, K9, which one is K? It's the credit card reports that they give us. Customs information, we receive information when people buy airplanes and boats and other things that are imported. And exchange of information with the Southeastern tax administrators. That's the 14 states, every state that touches us and all the states that touch them, going up to South Carolina and West Virginia. And of course, exchange information with ABC. All information with us is confidential. And we abide by the disclosure and confidential provisions contained in 42A10 Code of Alabama, 1975. So the Department of Revenue strives to provide quality information. All right, so to go with what I gave you, if you open the packet and look on the right, you'll see a cost analysis. This green sheet looks like this. This shows down how the cost is calculated. The fee is either 2% of your gross collections or $6.54 per account. So in going through these calculations, you can see its percentage and transaction method, and your city would qualify under the transaction method. Now, that is each tax type, each taxpayer when they file, excluding someone who is filing a police jurisdiction and general, or automotive and general, those count as one because it is one taxpayer. So when you look at what our fees would be, it's about 0.5%. So for the year, if you look at the second sheet, I was provided information of tax collections and your fees over certain months, and we did the calculations and showing what we would have charged for the same period, the same number of taxpayers filing, and what you were charged with your admin fee and your audit fees, because the audit fees are included with the state's services. And you can see there's a difference. A summary of, on the left, a summary of all of our services of what I gave on the presentation is right there in the large sheet. And in the essence of time, I'll ask, do you have any questions?
Does anybody have any questions specifically? Obviously, we'll, like Leanne said, we'll have time to discuss and review with her in future meetings. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, good evening.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. How are you all?
Good.
My name's Perry Brassfield. I'm the Client Success Manager for Avenue Insights, the southern part of the state. And this is Connie Taylor, who is the Director of Client Relations in Birmingham. And we're here just to go over some of y'all's reports and some of your sales and use tax data and to see some of the gains that you've made, especially in the last 5 years being a client of ours. The City of Enterprise has been a client of Avenues for 10 years, and Coffee County as well has been a client of ours for 9. As Ms. Leanne said, the contracts with us are set to expire on the 28th of February, so hopefully after tonight's discussion, it'll give you a little more insight on the best decision to make, and hopefully that is to stay with us. If you look in your packet, there are some charts and graphs provided. On the right-hand side is a dashboard report for sales and use tax that includes your audit and your administration revenue. Connie has a little more insight into these reports, but if you look in the first box from 2021, October 1 to September 30th of 2022, sales and use tax administration is up 7.1% for the City of Enterprise. Down below there, that will give you a little breakdown of the specific tax types and where you see the most growth and what type of taxes are reporting for the city. And Connie, stop me if I say anything incorrect. Top remitters, yeah.
Top 5 taxpayers, what piece of the pie they make up, and then overall all the other taxpayers and what piece of the pie they make up. And all of these reports are available 24/7 on our Government Service Center portal. We have around 20 different reports. We have history and trends, detailed payment listings, research where you can research just one account. So these are all accessible to city staff, and we can set up, as many accounts as needed for, people to pull those.
On the second page of that dashboard report, you have a listing of your top 5 business classifications for taxes that remit every month, as well as the top 5 business classifications that have shown the most growth in the last year. And there's a graph there as well that shows that. It looks like your warehouse clubs and super centers is the top one for the business of the last year, and tax preparation services has seen the most growth in the last year. On the left-hand side is a pretty simple chart of audit and admin revenue over the last 5 years, and it shows your growth year after year. Just in the last year alone, like I said, y'all are up 7.1%, and that's coming even again from 20 and 21 where you were up 15.15%. Like Cameron said, the comparison between us and the state, we do charge for our auditing as well as the administration fees, and we will always charge the city what costs you the least. Our sales tax contract, for example, is a dollar amount per transaction or a percentage of the monthly gross, whichever is lower. Our dollar per transaction is $2.95 as compared to $6.54. And our percentage is 1.95 as opposed to 2. I had planned to bring a fee comparison in Excel with me, but had a power outage at home. But I will say that comparing our admin and audit fees against the departments, you're looking at about $111,727 change for the better for us. And I am free to send you all that fee comparison via email when I get back home. if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Does anybody have any questions for Avenue folks? And please, you can get that to Leanne, and she can.
Yes, sir.
She can get us that.
I'd be happy to.
Right.
Thanks very much.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Leanne. Did you have anything to follow up on?
Yes, but not right at the second. So
Okay.
I think once we get all of that information, we'll put it together. Staff and I will come to you with our recommendation, and then make sure once you all go home and have a chance to look over, if you have any additional questions that we can follow up with, both agencies about, that we have time to get those questions answered for you. And then we'll come back and we'll probably have a further discussion with council. So,
All right. Sounds good.
okay. Thanks.
All right, thanks. All right, next agenda item is to review our regular meeting agenda. So if y'all will turn with me. So there were a few late additions. Did everybody see? Did everybody get a copy of the late additions from yesterday, I believe? So we'll just go down. Y'all stop me if we need to. If I glaze over something that needs more discussion. So we'll have the roll call, prayer, approval of the agenda, then the consent agenda, which consists of some work session minutes from November 1, November 15th, our last city council meeting on November 15th, our accounts payable A3, A, and B. Then we've got contract billings for CC and Litchfield, as you can see, for the new rec center and aquatic center, and the city hall renovations. Those are the contract services per our contract with them on designs on those projects. Then Blankenship Contracting for the 167 project for sewer utility relocation, and Poly Incorporated for engineering services on the same. Ewan Connor and Associates for the CDBG demo, and some asbestos surveys for the same project, and KPS Group for our contract planning services for the comprehensive plan. The redistricting services, this was for the census that we passed back several months ago. Our redistricting, that's our final billing to them, and Civic Plus LLC for our online code hosting. Any questions on the consent agenda? Concerns, questions of staff? All right, then we'll have a presentation to airport employees from the mayor and a request from Stacy Hayes, Navigator. Stacy, did you want to do that now? Yes, absolutely.
Council, good to see you all on a different
Yes, ma'am.
forum. As you guys know, I work for Navigator International now, and we have been contracted by both owners of the buildings that caught fire around Thanksgiving. And there's a few requests within the request. I give you guys a map. This demo that we're going to be performing on these buildings, it's quite complex because, there's a lot of different factors with that alleyway and our building and all the other buildings. So I've met with Barry and all the other utility companies. Thomas came out there the other day, and I talked to Pat Henderson, and because of the height of Nikki and Brett Bryan's building being 35 feet, the fall rate for that is 1.5 times. So we're coming to ask for street closure beginning January 9th through January 20th on College Street from Main to Railroad. We've talked to Pat about closing from 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. From Main at College to Grub Street. We really only need to close half of that road, but unfortunately with something like this, there's going to be people that are going to want to come and watch and so forth and so on. So Pat feels as though it'd be safer to close the whole road. Barry, the only thing that Pat asked was that he approved the road closure on Main Street, but that since the city handles the road closures, that you email him something. basically stating that yes, the city, you know, if the city grants the request to close College Street, that yes, the city will take care of the closing for both. Now, we are asking for College between Main and Railroad to be closed the whole lane, because we're going to have to, Ben Beckham's going to be doing the demo, and he's going to have to keep his equipment there, because you can't pick up the equipment and drop it off every day. So we're asking for that to be closed for the 2-week period, or at least however long it takes. We're anticipating 2 weeks. We hope it'll be sooner. But Main Street will only be closed between the hours of 7 and 4:30 during that 2-week time period. And then the other thing that I've talked to Barry about, and Mr. Goolsby, I've talked to you about it too, is the repaving of the alleyway. Those buildings are down. Now would be a good time to get in. I've been meeting with all the utility companies, met with Alabama Power, and Thomas was out there. We're trying to find a way to do all those utilities underground right now. And I know the city's been wanting to, clean up a lot of the alleyways around town, especially downtown. So now with those buildings down, would be a good time to do that. So. Council?
I was going to let you know I had conversations with Aldott about what Stacy mentioned about the city coming up with a road closure plan, and talking to him as late as this morning on another issue. If y'all approve to go forward with this request, we'll meet with Aldott and figure out a plan how to close that one lane on Main Street. And on the paving of the alley, currently it is not in our 3B list, but it's something that we would definitely look at since we have an opportunity to do this while that building is down. We wouldn't want to do that, of course. We wouldn't want to pave that before the construction, but we would, if it makes sense to go ahead and do that during this project, we will definitely look at that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I certainly would take any recommendations of staff on the best order to do those things. As far as tonight, what we need is permission to close these streets, right? Any concerns with the street closure request?
The pedestrian traffic, I know the chief, since you're gonna have to close the entire road, the barricades we had on the sidewalk, keep them out. How far out is that gonna go so pedestrians can walk, and we keep those gawkers from coming close? To Barry?
But I think that whole side of the street just needs to be completely
Exactly.
shut down to any pedestrian.
How far out in the street though, if the 1.5 times the same?
Yeah, there won't be. Yeah.
They'll have to use the other side of the road.
They won't be able to walk down the middle of the street though, that's what I'm getting at.
No.
Correct. They'll have
The-
to. Yeah, that's correct.
Stay
The
on the other
sidewalk
side.
on the other side of the road,
Okay,
the east side of the road would be open.
By Cafe Roma, they would have to walk by Cafe
yeah,
Roma.
so we got something to make sure that doesn't happen, because I know if there's nothing out there, they're gonna walk.
But north and southbound lanes of traffic would be closed.
Yeah.
During the day.
And I talked to Chief Moore, and I also talked to Chief Davis too, because it's really humid out right now, but January and February are usually our coldest months. And there's going to be a lot of dust that comes from this. So I've talked to Chief Davis about having his water truck there or fire truck there, just for dust control if we need it. Because, there's a lot of contents in those buildings. So, and same with Chief, keeping everybody safe. Safety is our main concern. So that's why the request is there.
So will these businesses all have to be closed during that period?
Well, I will tell you that we've talked to All About Art, obviously is closed, She Shed. We are going to be doing the construction on Serendipity. They're already closed, and right now we're in construction process on the Pea River. So, Tammy, what's next door? No, on the other side. Shopaholics. So we're going to talk. She would be the only other business that would be affected by this, and we're going to talk to her and let her know, that during that 2-week time period that sidewalk will be closed. So, but from what I understand, I met with Diva, and from what I understand, that's their slowest time of the year is when they slow down the most. That's one of the reasons we were gonna do it this month. But Diva asked that we wait till January, because January is their slowest time of the month downtown. The holidays would be over, and, you know, the construction itself is gonna be extremely loud anyway.
So from Shopaholic and Rawls and all that, nobody will be able to get in front doors at all, because that whole sidewalk, you said we're gonna be closed. That's my point is if,
But if the whole road is being closed from the monument to say we close it to the next street, which would be Groves,
right,
you would, for traffic, you wouldn't be able to.
Right.
You just cross the street.
Yeah.
Pretty open right there. I see what you're saying now. But
yeah, I didn't know if you're gonna put a gate blocking so they can't go past Shopaholic, but you can
Correct.
still Shopaholic and down, they can still
I would
use
say-
that
I would say
sidewalk.
we'd probably put the bike racks
Yeah.
from Shopaholics across
Right,
Main
Chief.
Street during the hours that it's
Yeah.
closed from, would you say 7:30, 4:30-ish?
7 to 4:30.
7 to 4:30?
Yeah.
And then whenever we open up the road, then we'll just put the.
Yeah, and that way people can still use these businesses down here. To what Greg was asking.
Demo's gonna go, you know, this way.
That
It's
way,
gonna
yeah.
go from all about, it's gonna go this way, but, you know, we're kinda hoping to demo it kinda like this, but
Right.
you just never know.
Okay.
That, you know, those buildings are 117 years old, so you're just not sure what they're gonna do when you start taking down.
Do you have issues with asbestos?
No, nope, no asbestos.
Okay, so tonight is just the street closure request on College. And y'all are gonna handle DOT. And my only request would be that we do obviously balance safety with some of these other legitimate business concerns and make sure Tammy and Mariah, y'all keep everybody in the loop. Any other questions or concerns? Okay. All right, Stacy, I don't see any reason for you to hang around. We'll get that approved. All right, then we'll have privilege of the floor, then staff reports. Then we will move into our old business. So the first item is a lane rezone. Thomas, anything pretty straightforward. Lane rezone public hearing. Then we've got our AV system and furniture civic center. So this is something we've been talking about a while. Any questions on this? This is, among other things, going to allow city council meetings to be hosted at the civic center, but it'll also upgrade the AV system. Then we'll have a public hearing in consideration of ABC license request for Blue Rose LLC, and move into new business. We're going to introduce some planning commission recommendations that you can see listed here. Just simple introduction tonight, in addition to introducing the annexation and zoning ordinances 120622, 120622A, both for Billy Cotter Construction. And then we're going to amend the zoning ordinance. You want to tell us about that, Thomas?
Council. So what we're doing with that, we're just like we did last month, where we amended the table to allow different types of uses and different type of zones. What we're doing on this one, we're just changing one thing. We're allowing minor shopping centers to be an allowed use in downtown. The reason why we're doing that is because of how our ordinance is written and how it defines a shopping center. It defines it as anything that's sharing like common parking, common walls, certain things like that. So basically, the pharmacy that's downtown would fit into that category. The one that's the doctor's office and pharmacy that's down there by the Dollar General in that area, it would fit into that category. And we have another building that has been approved by Planning Commission to go down there on Main Street. That's going to be somewhat of the same construction. So to allow them to put that down there legally, we would need to amend this table.
And obviously, this is coming in the form of a recommendation from planning and staff.
Yes, sir. Both planning and staff recommend that we make this move, that we amend the table.
And all we're doing tonight is introducing it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions of Thomas tonight? Of course, we'll get another bite at it in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
All right, then the next item is to introduce ordinance 120622C, which is the regulation of short-term rentals. So I see we've got some visitors here tonight probably to talk to us about this. So our plan, I believe, is just to simply introduce this. If everybody will turn in your packet to that, I do want to bring to everybody's attention a few changes to what was sent out on Friday. What's being introduced here, and this is based on some conversations with Scotty and Rayner had some input on some things. So if you will turn to page 2, section E was crossed out. That was the one that required all of the hosting platforms to be named explicitly on the permit application. So there were some concerns on that. Scotty and I got together. We talked with Jonathan, and we just didn't see the need for it. Does anybody have any heartburn crossing that out? It's not on this copy. It's been removed. Greg, you said you were good with that, right? So that's been removed. Turn to page 3, section 8D. Got with, again, Scotty and I got with Thomas before the meeting. Thomas and Barry and Rayner and Beverly were all involved. So we've changed the wording on this section D. It said all doors and windows shall be operational. That has now been changed to doors and windows intended for egress shall be operational. So the concern there from a constituent was that certain windows are not intended to open and close. The spirit of this was simply that there is adequate egress for safety purposes. So we've just changed that wording to fit the spirit there. Then on page 4, section 11, there were some typos in there. Nothing of consequence there that Rayner wanted cleaned up. And on number 12 there, the fine has been changed to $100 from $250. So everything else is what everybody's had in front of them the last few weeks, which was after the changes from the last meeting, of which we had a public hearing. We decided not to pass it. So again, my plan tonight was to simply introduce this, lay it over, have a public hearing, and hopefully get this passed and out of our way in 2 weeks. So any questions, concerns? I'm sure any of y'all that want to address this will have your opportunity and privilege of the floor tonight. Then, of course, we'll have another public hearing in 2 weeks. So I'd be happy to talk with y'all after the meeting. I can show y'all the specific changes. All right. So back to our agenda. We're going to authorize a negotiation of funding agreement with the Waterworks Board and water line replacement. So if y'all remember last work session, Eugene and I agreed to have a meeting with the Water Board, or at least some representatives of the Water Board. And so Eugene and my recommendation is simply for us to stick to our original agreement, and that is to fund. Both of us, you can see the wording here. It says mayor, city administrator, city attorney to negotiate a funding agreement. We do think that we should get some clarifications on some items and the overall relationship between the water board and the city. You have anything to add on that, Eugene?
Well, as most of you know, when this money became available, it said it was to be used for either sewer or water. And so the city said we were going to take X amount of money to the sewer and X amount of money to the water department. But later on, the federal government came back and said, you can use this money for whatever you want to. So at that time, the city kind of says, well, we're not gonna give it to the water department. But the water department had already let bids out for a water line replacement, depending on the use of this money. So that's where we stand now, for us to stand with our obligation to the contract that we have to let out. It's already been bid. The person is just waiting for a firm to go ahead. So if this money is appropriated like we're asking for it to be tonight, then the water line replacement can proceed as it should be.
Any questions of Eugene, myself, or anybody else?
I have a couple comments. One, I ultimately want to see Enterprise have the best water system it can have. And I want us to have, the lines replaced that allows us to continue with our road project. So I'm not against making sure that the funds are there. I would like to see, as you said, some negotiations happening with our, between the city and the water department, because I have a lengthy list of grievances that are constantly over and over and over brought to my attention by constituents that never seems to get addressed and fixed. I'd be happy to provide those at whatever point that this negotiation is happening, because I think during that negotiation there needs to be true negotiation.
Yeah, I certainly don't disagree. Anybody else have anything?
No, I agree with Greg. Very.
All right, the next item is to introduce a call for consideration of a request from Barry to seek bids for storage containers. Anything to add on this, Barry? This is for the City Hall renovations in the future.
Yes, sir, just real short, I'll let you know that we are part of our City Hall renovation project. We are got a lot of storage downstairs, particularly downstairs, but in every department that we're going to need a place to put that while we're doing the renovations. So I'd like to go ahead and look at what cost would be and get bids for that to a plan, to create a plan that we could actually work with. And I've worked with Jonathan and Leanne to kind of come up with some ideas there. But I'm just seeking permission to go to bids, get prices for that.
And I assume the idea would be that funds that are set aside for construction will be used.
Just be part of the construction project. Yes, sir. We anticipate that we'd probably need these facilities for 2 years, maybe 3. And we're looking at like the storage containers, the metal storage container type things that we could possibly park those on one of our facilities, possibly like Mill Avenue back in the back, a place for us to store that. And when we've looked at both ways, we've looked at renting those out, and the cost for renting those over a 2-year period, we can buy them for that. So at the end of this project, if we decide that we don't need them for another use, we could always surplus those and get some money back out of it.
All right. Any questions of Barry on this? Of course, all we're doing is giving him permission to seek bids. Well,
that's correct.
You'll bring those back to us, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. All right. Next item. This was an addition, something that we failed to take care of last month. It's the election of City Council President. As y'all know, my term expired last month, so I will entertain y'all's thoughts on that.
I would like for you to continue as president if possible.
All right. Well,
yeah, I would second that for sure.
I'm certainly willing, but obviously serve at y'all's pleasure. So that's entirely up to y'all. So
I think we talked about those, that similar to those goals that we would want to try to work through.
Okay.
That's what I remember.
All right. So we will take care of that. Then we'll move on to the mayor's report and council members' comments. So everybody good with this agenda? All right, moving back to our work session. Barry, you've got some sewer job descriptions and pay. I believe these are some budgeted items that we discussed in our budget hearings back in September.
Yes, sir. Those are the same items that we discussed back at our budgeting session end of last year. And just in a recap, city's growing. Our needs are growing. we've looked at outsourcing a lot of these construction and maintenance projects that we were doing and realizing that there may be a better way for us to realign our staff, the way we're doing things. And currently, the way it is, we have a wastewater manager that has collections and the wastewater disposal all under him. We're separating those two things out. That's my recommendation. And realigning those job descriptions so that
I believe
we have
we've got some memos in our folder here to
it's
review.
clearly outlined in the memo, and the two job descriptions are there for you to review. Currently, our wastewater manager would turn into our wastewater disposal manager, and then we would promote from within our current wastewater collections supervisor up to a manager level. And underneath him, we would create two different teams. One would be one that would handle general maintenance, a 3-man, 4-man crew that would handle general maintenance. If we have an issue, a break or whatever, they would handle those. And we'd have a separate, actually, installation crew that would be configured for doing stormwater work, wastewater line work, for putting in some of these projects that we currently need to get done and things that we'll see in the future as well. With that, and it is budgeted this way, is to not just create these positions, but also the dollar figures allowed to make some salary adjustments for those positions so that we can retain some of the key staff that we have and also recruit some key positions that we would need. There's one new position in the organizational chart that was submitted during the budget reviews, and that's also included in this plan. Not in your packet, but that's part of the plan.
We're not asking for action on this tonight.
I want to come tonight and just bring this up to you. This is what we've already discussed before, but I had time to formulate the plan and want to get that before you, give you a chance to review it. And if y'all would agree that that's something you'd like to see, I'll bring that back for action at our next council meeting in 2 weeks.
Somebody have any questions tonight on that? Like I said, there are some memos in your packet for y'all to review. And if no objections, just bring it back to us and we can discuss next
Yes,
time.
sir. And if y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them at any time. Thank you.
All right. Looks like we're doing good on time. The last item on our work session agenda is our strategic planning discussion for calendar year 2023. If you'll remember, we've been on a quarterly cadence. We started with our annual planning back this January of 22. So we need to do the same next month. It'll be a little more intensive than our quarterlies have been. Our quarterlies have basically been just keeping us on track for our annual. So I assume everybody is on board with continuing this process of a quarterly rhythm of updating our goals and keeping staff on track. So if y'all want, I think the easiest thing is just for us to go ahead and see if we can come up with some dates. Jonathan, do you have any input on what works best for y'all?
I don't. I'm assuming we're going to talk in January.
January, yeah. You and I discussed doing that at the farmers market.
Yeah, I think, I think that it was good to see the new FBO last year, but one of the issues was space.
It was tight.
It was tight. And we only had a few members of the public that came in the media, but if we had more, I don't know where they would have gone.
Right.
So I think farmers market would be an appropriate place.
Any objections to farmers market?
No.
It's probably the most, it has good parking and access.
I would just ask for, I don't know if you want 4 hours, if that's enough, but whatever date you pick, I would ask that you maybe give me an alternate, because I don't have the farmers market availability with me right now.
Right.
So I need to clear that and make sure that it's not reserved whatever date we pick. And off chance it is, I can go back to the alternate.
So, 16th is obviously a holiday. Sonia, afternoon works best for you, is that correct?
Afternoon would be good.
What about,
Or, if it's, high afternoon, like, not like late afternoon, like 2 maybe.
2 o'clock.
Something like that.
What about?
I know I cannot do the 26th. It's on a Thursday. I know that.
What about Tuesday the 24th? No good.
I'm thinking that works.
It's good for me.
I'm good.
Tuesday the 24th, Greg.
It's usually, yeah, that's fine.
We're talking how many hours?
2 to 6, we'll say.
Because we got a city planning meeting 4:30. I just noticed.
On that 24th, you do?
Yeah.
Could you do noon, Sonia?
That'd be great.
Noon to 4. So noon to 4 o'clock on Tuesday, the 24th. All right. We'll try to get out before 4 o'clock.
Can I make one comment?
Yep.
Jonathan alluded to it. We had 2 people there from the citizens from the community. I know we're going to put information out, and I know Miss Emily will put out announcing the meeting at Farmers Market. But I like to tell everybody here and people online, come out and you're going to see what we're going to talk about for the next year, our goals and things. It's a great meeting. We had sticky tape all over. You would have learned a lot at the last. And I hear from my constituents a lot on, well, I didn't know about this or that or whatever. You miss it if you don't come. So that is an awesome meeting to come to hear what we're going to talk about for FY23 from everybody from all the districts. So I'm letting you know now, and I know we'll put more information out about it. Just blitz it. But I like to see the farmers market full, except for just 2 people. We had Lorenzo there and the media. That was it that last time. It was a waste. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Councilman, just a general question for that meeting, since it's going to be at noon, do you want lunch there?
I guess if anybody wants, we could meet before for lunch. Yeah, I mean, we could do like 11:30 sandwiches or something like that.
And you want all department heads there, or who do you envision from the staff at this meeting?
What did we do last time?
Honestly,
I mean, I think department heads. Yes.
Yeah.
I think department heads.
I think they were there, but honestly, don't remember.
Yeah. I think that would be good.
Okay.
You and I can discuss specifics.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Does anybody else have anything before we take a brief recess? All right. We will adjourn for 7 minutes, reconvene here at 6 o'clock in our regular meeting.
Man, I was gonna show you something. I was gonna show you what I think I left it on my desk. Mama gave me that insert that was in the bulletin at y'all's church. Where they did the spot, you was the member spotlight. That was nice. And so I put it in my purse because I was gonna put something on my city page about it. That was pretty nice. And you was up there with your tie on and your black and gold. You was ready. 50? Oh man. And I didn't know, but see, I knew they had that ball that Saturday. That was that Saturday, right? And so I saw that, what's her name? Sarah, Mary Matthews' brother. I saw his daughter had posted that he had gotten. I don't know him. Do I know him? Did you get get a picture of yourself with it? When they, yeah. Yeah. That's why Mama gave me that program, and I took it out my.
It's going. Still moving, might not. It might take me a little longer to get where I'm going, but where I'm going has been enough while I was born.
They ain't going nowhere.
Take the time to get there.
Yeah, but I was gonna ask you, are you and Cynthia going to the concert Sunday? Sheila Jackson. That's probably what it is. At the it's at the junior college. Mhm. She doing one in Troy on Saturday, and then she doing it in Enterprise on Sunday. Because if you want a ticket, see Marge. Or, well, actually, I got an extra one that my sister-in-law, somebody had gotten her one already, so Marge had given me one for my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, but my sister-in-law already got one, so I got one extra. Just let me know if you need another one. I'll call Marge. That's got to be what it. Oh, that's Saturday. That's at that mom house. Yeah. She had me all up in the liquor store trying to look for Hennessy. I said, they don't have none. We was in Georgia when we was coming from my brother's, and we stopped at this. Please don't. So that means what he say, translation. Y'all do what you want to do, but I ain't doing it. That's
Any discussion on order of your you will wear flip-flops? Wear Santa costume? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've got 6 o'clock. If we could get the room to order, I will call this meeting of the Enterprise City Council to order. Let the record show that all members of the council are present. If you would, please stand with me for the opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. We've got Pastor Andres Ramos from Church on the Circle.
I invite you to pray according to your faith tradition as I pray. Heavenly Father, you are great and your actions are wonderful. You alone are God and we praise you. Your name alone is exalted. Your glory is above heaven. Lord, we invite you. You invite us to be mighty before you. We ask that you bless this assembly tonight. We ask for your wisdom, that your actions, that our actions and words must be pleasing to you, and that our conduct is at a high level of distinction and respect to you and the world. We acknowledge your favor towards your enterprise. Help us to continue to be good stewards and forgive us the areas that we have done better. During this season, with gratefulness, we celebrate your love toward us and send you Jesus to be right among us. And we continue to seek him and obey his teachings with genuine heart and to you, the only wise God, Jesus Christ. Be the glory forever.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. All right, Council, you've got your agenda in front of you as discussed in the work session just prior to this meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda of the meeting as submitted.
So moved.
All right, with a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the council for review, are considered to be routine, and will be enacted by one motion of the City Council with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by a request of the member of the City Council. I will now call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
All right, with a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Let the record show that I'll be abstaining because of a conflict with accounts payable B. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, Mayor Cooper, you're going to present some certificates to some airport employees. Call forward Mr. Jimmy Deloach, Jane Simmons, Sam Dennis, and Anthony Amos.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to recognize 4 employees at outstanding level of care for the Enterprise Municipal Airport property and facilities. Anthony Amos, Jimmy Deloach, Sam Dennis, James Simmons will be presented with a certificate of appreciation. A surprise inspection was conducted at the property in November. The FAA inspector sent out a note recognizing Woody Carter, the most manicured, well-maintained airfield that he had ever seen. We are so fortunate to have city employees who take great pride in their work. The level of care shown by these men is to be commended. The inspector said there was not a single blown bulb on the airfield lighting, and that is something that he said he has never seen before. Gentlemen, your attention to detail is admirable, and we are proud to have you taking care of the airport property and facilities. We want to thank you all for your dedicated services on the job that you do. Here,
say a couple of things. I'll tell you, our city employees are second to none. These guys here, I've had the privilege of working with them for about most of the it's part of your staff since April of last year. Worked with many of them since I started with the city. And I'll tell you, the airport is second to none. As you compare to any other general aviation airport in the Southeast, they rank Enterprises high. I knew that. I just want to read you just real shortly. It's really worth it. I want to tell you what these guys say. So the FAA is the Federal Aviation Administration. They're the federal agency that oversees what we do when we have an airport. And the gentleman that came out, his name is Luke Flowers. He's a project manager, program manager for the FAA. He does surprise inspection. He called me and said, hey, 20 minutes away at the airport, just want to let you know, come to see what's going on. So I called and said, hey guys, heads up. We're going to have VIP on the airport. Take him to show whatever he wants to see. And his words were, he says, I have to say that you have the most well-maintained airfield that I've ever seen. It shows your dedication to hard work and how good the airport staff is. He said, it's obvious that they make sure everything's clean and operational. He said, basically, not even basically, he said in his 30 years, he's never seen an airport maintained to the level that we maintain. And that just shows the dedication and service that these guys do. You'll ask them, they're the most humble group of people you'll ever meet. They'll tell you, we don't have anything to say, just tell them we just did our job. And I'm telling you, that's not just doing your job. We had a ribbon cutting last week where we have a helicopter facility coming in. It's going to be like a first flight coming in. They'll house an aircraft there. If someone is critical, they'll fly in, pick them up, and take them to the hospital and do first care. And we invited, there's two departments. I talked about the FAA, but there's also a branch at ALDOT, Alabama Department of Transportation, and they're the Aeronautics Bureau. And we invited the director of ALDOT, the Aeronautics Bureau, and he showed up last week. And it was on Friday. As soon as he got back to the office, he sent me a message. I just want to quickly read it to you. He said, thank you for the invitation to join the ribbon cutting ceremony at Enterprise Rescue Air Service located at the airport. Our first responders certainly play a critical role in emergency situations. In addition to our air ambulance services provides the community with fast transportation for medical patients, which can save lives. This is just another example of how important our assets and our airports are to local communities. He went on to say, I'd like to recognize the effort and the hard work that you and your airport staff put in maintaining the airport. I've been inspecting this airport for 30 years, and the airport has always been well maintained. The airport's a very beautiful facility and represents your community well. I often hear that the airport is the front door to the community where thousands of visitors visit each year and make an impression on that area. I know the airport makes a positive impression on all those who utilize this facility, and they will see the city of Enterprise as the city of progress. And I just want to take a minute to commend these four guys because I can tell you, I call on them all the time. Things happen. Hey, can you handle that? And the first response is, got it. You got it. You take care of it, and they always do. And I just want to say from my heart and from people that you serve, I appreciate everything that y'all do to go over and beyond. And as a certificate in the mayor's office, I just want to say thank you. Humble group guys. I won't say anything, but again, thank you. The excitement on their face.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, and congratulations, guys. Much deserved. All right, moving on to the next item, which is a request to address council regarding a street closure request. We actually did this in the work session, or at least the address to council was done in a work session. So Stacy Hayes came before us with Navigator International LLC requesting to close West College Street to Railroad Street January 9th through 20th, 2023 for the demolition of 100 to 104 South Main Street. As I said, that was detailed in our work session before, so I will entertain a motion to grant this request.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, now's the part of the meeting called Privilege of the Floor. This is where anybody from the public that is here tonight that wishes to address the council about anything on their mind is allowed 3 minutes to do so. I will point out that we do have a couple of public hearings, the Lane rezone and the Blue Rose LLC hearing for an ABC license request. Please don't address us about those two items at this time. Anything else, it would be appropriate. I do know there's some short-term rental folks here. Now would be the time to discuss this because we're not having a public hearing on that tonight. That'll be in 2 weeks. So if you want to discuss that, please come and privilege the floor. So is anyone here to address the council? All right.
That's right. How's that? Cheryl Piccinini. Piccinini. First of all, I wanted to thank you guys for the opportunity, and also we really did feel like we were heard and represented, and it's nice to see government in action and see you working for us. Having said that, the only thing I kind of cheated because I have a gallbladder issue, and my new friend and I talked about some things regarding fire safety, and I conceded some and he conceded some, but the only thing I'd like to ask that it be removed is, I didn't even see the page number, sorry, I'm in pain. B, where it talks about having a fire extinguisher in the kitchen area. I would prefer that we remove located under the sink. That's something you want visible. Under the sink is a moisture area too. It could compromise the integrity of the extinguisher, but I had a bunch of stuff, but he and I discussed it, and that's all I got. Is I would prefer it be visible. Most of us have them up on a wall. I want to see a bright red extinguisher. I want tenants to see the bright red extinguisher and fight the fire, and also some more clarification on the type of extinguisher. I think we said 5 pound, if that's not getting too specific, is to explain, because none of us have any experience with these commercial tagged fire extinguishers, and there's no need to put a 50-pound extinguisher if a 5-pound would be sufficient, and there's different classes of them, and just to kind of have some more specifics on that would be nice.
Okay. We'll question Chief Davis when it comes time.
And then is this an affidavit type of inspection, or are we actually having to schedule inspections? And then as far as for compliance, how long do we have to get everybody on board once this is in effect? If that's all I got, guys, you did good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Who else? Mr. Waters?
Howdy, Joseph Waters. Yep. So I have several things, I guess, but we'll just kind of go through in order. The first page. I think at first it is better than it was last time, I guess. So the 90 days is better than 180. I like that. 30 days would be better, but it is what it is. On the next page, page 2, number 6 for C, number 6C, part of the permit, communication 24 hours a day, telephone number. We are available. Just seems kind of silly. We are on call. We're attentive, and we handle business. But I'd rather that not be in there. The most of my issues are in sections 8 and 9, which all of these were in here previous, and most of them were brought up last time. And I have talked with the chief about this just today, actually. But number 8A, an evacuation map placed in within each unit. Map will be mounted on the wall near the exits. Just seems silly. Not a lot of common sense there, in my point of view, anyways. It's like our current short-term rental is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath triplex. It's 1 unit of the 3, and if you're standing anywhere in the unit outside of the bedrooms, you can see the front door and the back door. So I mean, just seems kind of silly, and don't think that should be there. Again, in 8B, number 3, talks about fire extinguishers located on each floor of the short-term rental under the sink. So my issue here is that we are kind of regulating above and beyond what is currently in the code, that is binding these residences, I guess. So I have commercial apartments, and we went through a commercial inspection with fire chief, or with a fire inspector and building engineering department. We passed all the inspections for our residential apartments. So what we're doing here is going above and beyond. It's not a huge financial thing. It's just the principle of it. I just don't think that we should be coming in and stipulating, having us go above and beyond the codes that are in place that we're operating under, right? I would rather see it as more of a guideline on how to operate and to work within the taxes and that sort of thing. But so currently, what's required is for me to have 1 fire extinguisher. They signed off on them being under the sink or in our laundry, kind of hanging mounted to the wall there. So that's what is the current code, I guess. So here it's saying we would have two, 1 on top floor, bottom floor. It's also stipulating that they have a service tag from the Alabama Fire Marshal, which currently what we have to have is we essentially have a $25 fire extinguisher from Lowe's, right? And it's got a green arrow, and if it's got an arrow, if it's in the green, it's good. We check it. Tenants, in between tenants, we go check it. It's good. If not, we replace it. So what this is saying is that we would have to be on a annual subscription for a commercial fire extinguisher inspector type service. And I talked to one of them today. So now is the difference in having a $25 extinguisher mounted. If we go by this, then it's would be, for both of them, the initial setup would be $125, so $125 per unit for the top and the bottom floor, plus annual inspections, which would be $10 per, so that's $20 annual for that, and $30 on top of that for any kind of recharge or something like that, if they do find it to be to need recharging. Just seems silly. Again, right now, the code allows for us to have these extinguishers from Lowe's. We can check them. And then when we do this, then we have to get on a schedule. We have to coordinate all of that annually. It just seems overkill and just not warranted, I guess. The same on 8C, C, smoke alarm shall be present in all the rooms outside the bedrooms. Record of annual testing verification by the fire department. Yeah, it's again not a huge thing, but the current code that we have already passed and been signed off on these units allow us to have one fire extinguisher outside of the rooms, right?
Smoke alarm, you mean?
What's that?
Smoke alarm.
Smoke alarm, yeah, smoke alarm. Outside of the sleeping areas. So again, not a huge thing, but it's just the principle of it that we're again coming and regulating, stipulating that we're going above and beyond, and we're going to have to do extra than what is already there, or the code that is currently there. D in number 8 as well, all doors and windows shall be operational. Just seems silly. Again,
so
then,
that's been changed. What's actually getting here tonight says
okay.
Doors and windows intended for egress shall be operational.
Okay, so then the question would be, what is intended for egress? Again on those, that same triplex, we have 2 windows fronting each unit of those. They are fixed windows. They do not open and close. They're kind of like a picture frame window. So again, they've passed everything. There are people sleeping in these units as they are. They'll be sleeping in there long term or a short term rental. We're changing them. We're in the process of converting more of them to short term rentals. Then are you going to say that we have to replace the windows? Because that would be about $1,000 per unit to kind of replace those, if that is the intent there. I just don't see the point in it. E, under that same thing, carbon monoxide alarm shall be installed when required by applicable codes. If it's required by applicable codes, why is it in here? Why does it need to be, I guess, is kind of a theme of what I'm getting at here. More in there, but then going down to number 9, D, operators shall make available a local 24-hour phone number, provides capability of producing response within a reasonable time. It's better than 15 minutes, better than 60 minutes, but it's still, it is what it is. Don't agree with it. Don't like to see it there. Again, it's what's the intent? I think they said the intent was for the renter. It feels kind of combative to me. It feels regulatory, which don't like. Going down to E, that same placard says we have to put it in there and stipulates the font, the size of the font. We have to have our name or someone's name and a number. What's the intent of that? They said it was for the renter. The renters have ways of contacting us. Through the app, through our how we do that. That we are in contact with them constantly. It behooves us to be in contact with them to make sure they have everything they need. Again, it just kind of seems combative. Seems like it's kind of a gotcha thing, which don't really like. It makes me think of a restaurant. You're displaying your health code grade or something, which for it's a house. It just seems silly to me. Then again, back to on F, trash and fuse not be left stored in public view. Just common sense, silly. I don't know. Just a lot of it seems like it doesn't need to be there. G, a consistent. Yeah, that's the banquet and the like parties and banquets and that sort of thing. I just don't think that's a huge. It just seems like it's not going to be used very much. It just seems silly. there as well. The enforcement thing, the 250 is better than
It's
than
100
going
now.
to jail. It's 100.
100.
Yeah. Just which is it is what it is. I just don't agree with it. I guess I would personally. I mean, it is what it is on all this. I appreciate y'all, but it just seems kind of the tone of it in general is somewhat kind of combative or contrary, and I just think it would have been better to have it more of a guideline on how to operate within like remittance and taxes and that sort of thing. But that's really all of my issues with it as it is.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Who else?
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Miller, and I'd just like to say thank you for letting us speak about this. And this rewrite is better than the original one. So a lot of our concerns were heard. I just have a few questions about just some clarification for my part. And some of it was kind of touched upon, but I just want to go a little bit farther so you know at least what I'm looking for. The first one is the grace period when this goes into effect. What kind of grace period are we looking at as owners and operators of the short-term rentals to get into compliance? Most of us have guests that are booked out months in advance. Sometimes if it's the military side, it's a half a year in advance. So we do not want to have to cancel those because all of those impact us on our hosting platforms, okay? So we want to make sure that we minimize that as much as possible while getting into compliance. So if we could get a set hard date, and my next question actually falls right after that, which is I'm concerned that possibly the fire marshal and the engineering department are not prepared for 200 plus STRs to come in force into your departments and be like, we need appointments, we need inspections, and in a very short period of time. So again, a little bit of a larger grace period, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months from the time this goes into effect would be highly appreciated so that we don't overwhelm your departments that are probably already busy as it is. All right. So, and we want to remain in compliance or get into compliance. So, with that, especially for fire marshal, because I've tried to read through a lot of the ordinances that they have, as well as like the electrical ordinances and everything that's out there. And you need a degree in like construction to understand most of it, or like you have to speak like a lawyer, which I do not. I need to know, like, very succinctly at that, give me a checklist. Tell me exactly what you are looking for on the inspection for both the fire marshal and also the engineering department. Tell me exactly what you're looking for so I can go through ahead of time before my inspection date comes up, and I can make sure that my home is in 100% compliance before they show up. Okay, does that make sense? All right. Last but not least, I have a question about the sales, or not the sales tax, but the lodging tax. So right now it's set at 6% if you're within city limits, 3% if you're not within city limits but still within the jurisdiction of the emergency services. That gets cut down to 3%, the way that it's currently written. I do know, because I pay my taxes, my state and county taxes, lodging taxes every single month, that half of county taxes, so 2%, goes to the city already, okay? So really, in turn, you're getting 8% of our taxes, which is fine, the guests pay for it, but that also hurts us too sometimes because now we're getting priced out, right? I'm just questioning, where is that money going? How is it benefiting us? Because, if it's all going for emergency services, that's great. I would recommend then that if the same emergency services are being used in city, make the out of city the same level, or vice versa.
That's
I choose
state
3.
law. That's state law. It's out of our control.
That one is actually
That's
state law?
That's not, yeah, and that's not addressed in this ordinance. That's just state law.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was all
That's
I
correct,
had
right,
then.
Rainer? Yep.
But that is actually state law?
Yeah. when you go outside of the corporate limits of the city, it drops to half.
Okay, but can we look at what it is inside city limits, or is that
That's not addressed in this ordinance.
okay? Well, I mean, it is because it's inside the ordinance of 6%.
It's just referencing a 2009 ordinance.
Okay. Is there a way that I could get that ordinance? I'd really like to read it. I'm all about details. So.
Isn't that right, Beverly? You remember the lodging tax ordinance 11-1709? It's referenced there on number 4A.
It's on our city website. All the ordinances.
Okay.
11-1709.
Okay. With that, actually, I have one other question.
I'm sorry, I'm breaking my own rules of dialogue and during privilege of the floor, but we're not passing any new taxes. These taxes were established in 2009. They are referenced in the ordinance.
Okay. I'm just looking at a possible thought of an amendment to that to make it, I don't know, more equitable. Right. Okay. Because, I mean, the same people just outside of the city limit are getting the same things that we are within city limits. So, and we're all still paying the same property taxes. We're all doing the same things. So that is just an idea to maybe toss around if you can, to try to figure out if there's a way to lower that, since you'll be getting 6% anyway, or 5% if you dropped it down to the 3%. But that's just, that's a little bit of heartburn. I mean, but that is what it is. My very last question, again, I'm a detailed oriented person. I want to know how I am paying these city taxes. And that is not really referenced well. The old ordinance, it referenced it. I tried paying them when I first started, even though there wasn't a business license in place. That ordinance was in place. I tried to pay them, and there was no way to pay them. And I was told by the chief revenue officer to don't do anything, just hold off, and that this ordinance was coming about. So I want to know when it's set up, where to go. Because it's super easy on the state sales or lodging tax, and it's super easy on county. It takes me all of about 20 minutes to do every single month. So if we could piggyback off of one of their systems, one of them was talked about tonight. So that would be great, because I could log in and do my county and my city taxes all at once and be done in 20 minutes.
Our taxes are currently done through Avenue.
Yep, that's what county uses.
Yep. So it'd be the same.
Yep, it'd be easy. It'd be super easy that way. So just a recommendation, but I am super detail oriented, and those are just the clarification that I need so that I can run my business appropriately with inside this ordinance. So
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, gentlemen and young lady. And my name is Dion Patton. Most of y'all know me. I have two simple questions. When this discussion began, how many short-term rentals were listed or had business license? Question one. Question two, how many of those have been notified that this process that we have been doing now for the last year, 6 months, 8 months, have been notified? Reason being, I'm the caretaker for the Birdview House, which most of y'all know is the old Warren House. Do you know that my owners did not know that this ordinance was coming? They are an LLC. They've got an attorney that tried to file a business license, got business license. They've got an accountant that pays our taxes. So when I gave our owners, Dr. John Policia, the city ordinance that I last saw, which was supposedly the one that y'all turned down last week, there was some language in it that he strongly suggested to be changed. One of them was the wording was something about the advertising that was being done.
That's been removed.
Well, because I haven't seen the current, so I'm not going to. There were some wording issues. One of the issues I heard tonight, there's a comment, I guess, in the ordinance that y'all are proposing about not having large banquets or large parties or that sort of thing. Well, if y'all enact that, the sugar plum tree that we do, we can't do. Because guess what? That goes against your ordinance. It's a free event that we do, that we put on. I put on. Let me rephrase that. Our owners don't do it. I do it. Me. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Nobody else? We'll move on to staff reports. We'll address anything specific to short-term rentals when that agenda item comes up, if that's okay. Any other staff reports? All right, moving on to old business. We've got a public hearing consideration of ordinance 110122, which is the lane rezone. I now call for a public hearing prior to consideration of ordinance 110122, providing for the rezone of 2.231 acres of land owned by Danny Lane from R65 Residential District to TH1 Townhouse District located off of Gundy Lane. This hearing is now open. Is there anyone here to speak for or against? Would you like to approach?
I'm definitely here to speak against it. We went through all the zoning commission and everything. I just came down and hear what they said. City council had to be next.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you heard about what we plan to do at that location, but we plan on putting townhouses on that location, and later on putting townhouses further on the other property right adjacent to it. So.
Yes, sir. That was submitted to us in our packet.
All right.
So anybody, any questions for Mr. Lane? All right. Anybody else here to speak for or against? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public portion of the hearing. I will entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 110122.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now review and consider a bid recommendation on the AV system and furniture for the Civic Center. I introduce and call for consideration of a recommendation from City Engineer, Public Works Director Barry Mott to award bid requisition number 2022-05 to Harris Security Systems Incorporated in the amount of $124,975 for all labor, materials, and equipment required for the complete installation of a new audiovisual control system and furniture package at the Enterprise Civic Center, which are bid items number 001 and number 002. This recommendation is based upon the lowest responsive bid received. Other bids received are as follows. Centerline Associates, LLC, total bid was for $110,054.34. On bid item number 001, they did not bid. On bid item number 002, it was that $110,054.34. So the recommendation is to take the responsive bid of $124,975 from Harris. I will entertain a motion to approve this recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now have a public hearing and consideration of ABC license request for Blue Rose LLC. And I'll call for a public hearing prior to consideration of request from Blue Rose LLC, DBA Big Blue Catfish Phil AM Bistro for a restaurant retail liquor license located at 1016 Rucker Boulevard. This hearing is now open. Is there anyone here to speak for or against? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and call for a motion to adopt this request.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, moving on to new business. We'll now introduce Planning Commission recommendations. I introduce for the record a recommendation from the Enterprise Planning Commission to approve the following request. A request by Reeves Engineering and Construction on behalf of Billy Cotter Construction Incorporated for the annexation and zoning of TH1 Townhouse District of 0.98 acres of land located off of State Highway 134 and Bowleville Circle. A request by Reeves Engineering and Construction on behalf of Billy Cotter Construction Incorporated for the rezoning of 2.77 acres of land from B3 Business District to TH1 Townhouse District located off of State Highway 134 and Bowleville Circle. A request by the City of Enterprise to amend the Enterprise zoning ordinances, amending Table 4-1 to allow minor shopping centers less than 10 acres by right in the B2 Business District zoning district. Okay, so we're just introducing those tonight. We'll also introduce Ordinance 120622, which is annexation and zoning of Billy Cotter Construction Incorporated. I now introduce Ordinance 120622, providing for the annexation and zoning of 0.98 acres of land owned by Billy Cotter Construction Incorporated into the city limits and to establish zoning of TH1 Townhouse District. I call for a public hearing to be held at the regular meeting scheduled for January 3rd, 2023. We'll also introduce Ordinance 120622A, which is Billy Cotter Construction Incorporated rezone. I introduce Ordinance 120622A, providing for the rezone of 2.77 acres of land owned by Billy Cotter Construction Incorporated from B3 Business District to TH1 Townhouse District located off of State Highway 134 and Bowleville Circle. I call for a public hearing to be held at the regular meeting scheduled for January 3rd, 2023. We'll introduce Ordinance 120622A, which is to amend the zoning ordinance discussed earlier in the work session. So this is to introduce Ordinance 120622B, providing to amend Table 4-1 of the Enterprise zoning ordinances to allow minor shopping centers less than 10 acres by right in the B2 Business District zoning district. I call for a public hearing to be held at the regular meeting scheduled for January 3rd, 2023. We'll also introduce Ordinance 120622C, the regulation of short-term rentals. I introduce Ordinance 120622C, providing for regulations associated with short-term rentals. We're just introducing this tonight, but we will have some discussion with staff. Chief Davis, you want to come forward? I think you had some comments.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to touch on a few things, and then hopefully, I hope if you have any questions, you'll ask. I'm sure I can come up with something, or at least make you believe that I did. So, discussing quickly on smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. There's a difference between the long-term rentals and the short-term rentals, and we had a decent conversation today. All right. We do not have anything that is currently regulating short-term rentals. They are classified as an R1. These meet the criteria, basically your definition almost exactly meets the criteria for an R2, all right? For an R2, in all of our 2009 ICC codes, IBC, IRC, IFC, the smoke detectors, that's code. We've already adopted that. And that includes one in the bedrooms, one in the outside of the sleeping areas, right?
So that would be like in a hallway or
right
a
outside the
living room.
doors. Yes. So if you had a bedroom on this side of the house, 2 bedrooms on this side of the house, you'd try to get it equally between those 2 bedrooms in the hallway and one in the hallway on this side. I would like to say why. All right? Because it is so critically important. And then I'll get back on this. There are 2 very different types of fires or criteria here. The bulk, by far, of fires that happen start not in the bedroom. So we need advanced warning before they get through the door to you. A much more rare occurrence is fires that start in the bedroom. It's equally important because fires that start in the bedroom are far more deadly. Your chances of getting out. So that's the point of having them inside the bedrooms and then outside the doors at the sleeping areas. And because these will go from a long-term rental or a home, an R1, to an R2, it's classified properly by ICC. That's the reason that that's in there. The map, all right? And I told you last time, as far as the information, I'm more interested with people having the map on there because they may be completely unaware if they haven't been there for long, or maybe their first night, right? That is also in the code. That's already been passed. Obviously, I work for you, but that's already been taken care of. The other is fire extinguishers. That has also in the code. And just for reference, smoke detectors are IRC 314. Carbon monoxide detectors, which is if you have fuel-fired appliances or an attached garage.
Not all houses would require carbon monoxide.
No, if you don't have an attached garage and you have all electric, you don't have to have carbon monoxide. There's no incomplete combustion to worry about. That is IRC, pardon me, I have glasses, 315. The evacuation map is the International Fire Code, IFC 408.9. And that only leaves the fire extinguisher, which is also covered. It's a little more complex because you're dealing with travel distance because it's an R2. So 75 feet. You can't be further at any time from 75 feet. The stairs create a hindrance there. So that is why there's one on the first floor and one on the second floor. Also, my understanding, and hopefully the rest of the department heads will tackle me if I'm wrong, our ability to do the inspections on these properties, at least the first time this was introduced, was to be introduced by the affidavit. In fact, the first version of this even said the fire department, engineering department are under no obligation to go unless there's an issue. So the affidavit itself was, I've got the information, yes, I did it, signed it, and moved on. Again, how we deal with that, I work for you.
That's the way it was explained it was going to be implemented to us. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it's explicitly in the ordinance, but that's the way staff explained it would be implemented on the first time would be via affidavit.
Yes. And the two
Does
mentions,
anybody in the room, any staff members disagree with that's the way it was explained and that's the intent?
in the items that Ms. Piccinini mentioned, all right, I have zero issue. And I think the problem here is she's concerned because it says under a kitchen, under a sink, right? Mm-hmm. Her thing was she wants it more visible. If it's in the kitchen, she wants them to be able to get it. Obviously, I'm a fan, right? And I told her that obviously, if that was the case, we wouldn't have a problem with that. But she doesn't have any particular reason to trust me,
right?
So if it's in the kitchen, if that's the wording you chose, I am 100% comfortable with that.
So you're fine striking located under the sink?
Correct.
Just says in the kitchen area.
Correct. And obviously that would also take, if your kitchen is on the first floor, that would also take care of your first floor, as it mentions in I believe, the second.
Yeah, it says that to the extent not otherwise covered in paragraphs 1 and 2. So if kitchen's on one of those floors, then
yes,
that would suffice.
That's absolutely correct. And the other thing is the size fire extinguisher. That was actually in the first version, if I'm not mistaken. We looked at a few, let's be honest. And that's an ABC 5-pound extinguisher, which is commonly referred to as a 2A 10BC. If you chose to put that in there, I have no problem with that either. It is actually, I believe, a good idea, specifically because we have certain ordinances and we go out and they say, well, I got an extinguisher, and they literally have one of the, looks like a bug spray, but it says fire extinguisher on it.
Yeah.
And they think that that's going to take care of a complex. A 5-pound extinguisher is a solid extinguisher.
So you would be comfortable with the store-bought 5-pound extinguisher?
That is a bit of an issue.
Okay.
So there are some store-bought extinguishers that can be utilized and then inspected by the individual that would come to check them, all right, annually. And that's common in an R2. Same thing if you had a timeshare, that's an R2. Apartment complexes, those are R2s, right? they'll usually utilize a company where they buy it from, and then they come and do it on a regular basis. There are some professional level extinguishers that you can purchase that those companies can help you with. I am not an expert in that. But they can research that utilizing VFP in Dothan. Mullins, I believe, is in Dothan. Is that right? Any certified fire extinguisher company. I do believe that the wording in there stating Alabama Fire Marshal certified, right?
It says
this is simply
certified contract.
This is simply a certified contractor.
You don't have
who's
to have them
certified.
come out of the house. You can take them and swap them out.
Yes, sir. That's absolutely correct, Council. And usually they show up. You don't have to worry about it because they'll literally call you. Hey, we're going to be there next week. What's a good time for you? They check it. They re-tag it so that we know that they're good. If those, and they do it cost a little bit more now, the professional ones, but keep in mind, they cost more because they have thicker walls. They can be hydro tested. They can last you a very, very long time. Whereas the other ones are ultimately easier to fail. Their necks are plastic, if you think about that. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover. I would like to say one thing, and obviously you guys know I'm all about community risk reduction. All right, I have no intention or want to overreach, but one thing that I've heard repeatedly is that we're concerned about life and health. Not y'all. We've heard it being spoke to you. We're concerned about our military and treating our military right. This is a military town, and I think that's great. I do. Their lives are 100% important to me, just like everybody ahead of me and behind me. These safety items that are already in the codes, honestly, if we're really that concerned about our military, our brothers, our guests to our community, that's the least of our worries. These are minor things, and I think they're extraordinarily important.